We've spotted the lizards. What are your orders? A large dwarf, adorned in green plate, called out. The Thane responded with a furrowed brow and a gruff, "March!" The entirety of Clan Vale could sense the tension and anger within Forik, but as such an honored Thane, none would dare question him. The stout form of the dwarves moved slowly through the undergrowth, each thorn and hole seemingly placed just to slow them down, and so Forik called his warriors to bring forth axes and torches. It would take the remainder of the day, but by dusk the forest was nearly gone. By the next day they were sitting atop a hillside overlooking the camp where the Lizardmen had chosen to rest, and it was here Forik would strike. Unfortunately, the Lizardmen had sentries on the ridgeline. A few of those sentries wouldn't make it to warn the camp, but one was able to sound its horn, and the fires around the camp lit in quick succession. Forik knew they had lost the element of surprise, but withdrawal was out of the question. "Set the gun! Ready your lines!" he called out. The dwarfs quickly completing the preparations as the lizard seems to have readied at a much quicker pace, though it was no real surprise given that the lizardmen had hide-like armor and needed no time to don excessive amounts of metals. As the lizards sat ready to face the dwarves, Forik bellowed a cry of war that his warriors rapidly adopted. This would be their declaration of intent to the lizardmen. But even as the two forces approached one another, Forik felt a nagging dissatisfaction come over him. He swept the feeling aside quickly, however, as he watched the shields lock and weapons raise. The war of scales had begun, and no matter the end result, it would be bloody. So, the War of Scales will begin with a battle line scenario. No special objective for the dwarves here, but I am attempting to unlock the Skaven Pelt standard. And to do that, after deployment, I had to choose a unit, and that unit had to be the last thing that I destroyed when the game ends, whether win or lose. So I chose his general, who is the engineer hanging out all by himself, so I've got to basically avoid killing him until last, and we'll see how that goes. So we start with dwarf deployment. He has a gyrocopter on his flank. In the forest, which turns out to be the Blood Forest, he has his general. Next to that is his organ gun. Then he's got a unit of, I believe that's 25 hammerers with Forik Bearer of the Van, his BSB Thane, with the banner that gives him a 4-up ward save and then everyone else a 5-up versus shooting. Next to that, the Longbeards have made their first appearance from Clan Vale, and he has 25 of them with hammers and shields, and then behind the building is his second gyrocopter. So, to face that, the Lizardmen, starting on the left, have a unit of 5 Cold One Knights with a Scarvet BSB with the Fencer's Blades. Then there is a Salamander, a Bastillodon with the Solar Engine. Next we have the 24-man unit of Saurus Warriors that is the Fangs of Gorakoth. Gorakoth is there with them with his normal kit out, including the Stegodon Helm. Then I have a unit of 10 Skink Skirmishers with javelins and shields. With them is Nachok, my level 2 to the Lore of Beasts. And then up front in the water, we have a scouting unit of 5 chameleon skinks. So he didn't leave me any way to get behind his line to anything I wanted to get to, so I figured I'd throw forward and try and go after the organ gun as soon as I can. Unfortunately, I lost the initiative to the dwarves, who get to go first. First things first, the gyrocopter comes here ready to roast some skinks, and all of the bonuses they get for hiding in the water and being chameleons matter exactly nothing to that big template he's going to lay down on me. So that is probably going to be a waste of skink points, I'm thinking. And then everything else on this side is going to be very cautious. He's moving up a little bit with both blocks. He's keeping his other gyrocopter close to act as chaff if he needs it, I think. And then he gets his general out of that forest because he doesn't want the forest beating the general to death, which I can certainly agree with that. So during shooting, he lays down the template and doesn't do great. I think he hits 3 of them with the template, but only manages to wound once. So I'm actually okay with that. I have no idea how much longer they're going to live, but the more shots he has to do at them to kill them, the better is the way I figure it. Then the organ gun goes off and rolls, frankly, terribly. It shoots the Fangs of Gorokoth and only manages to kill one of them. So with my limited shooting, on my turn I decide I cannot afford to go gently, so the cold ones go up on the hill here, everything else advances, and I get the... you can see the chameleon skinks are literally like 4 inches from the organ gun at this point. I get the other skinks into the water, which brings Nodshot close enough to the wizard's tower that he now has access to all the spells in Lore of Beasts, which I'm very happy with. So we can see around the tower and see the gyro bomber, or gyrocopter. It's the model for the bomber. I didn't get much off in the way of magic. I think I got Wissons off on my main block, and that was about it. But then I let loose with poison javelins and inflict 2 out of the 3 wounds I need to on the gyrocopter. And with nothing else going on, dwarves go. A gyrocopter over here lines up to try and roast the rest of my chameleon skinks. His general moves up a little bit, I'm not sure why. And the other 2 units are moving up. He really, I think, wants me to hit one of the units and then get stuck so that he can hit me in the side with the other. But I'm really not cool with that, but I'm also not entirely sure what I'm going to do to stop it. Over here, he brings the other gyrocopter around behind the building. He's going to try and roast that unit of skinks there as well. And I think this is just another picture kind of showing how the 2 sides are lining up against each other. I need to get out of these forests with the Saurus real quick, because right now I have no rank bonus, and that's bad. But he's not going to be able to get to me before I do that, so we'll see how it works. Gyrocopter steam gun goes off, and there is only 1 remaining chameleon skink there, but he is just within 12 inches of my BSB there, so I might have needed the reroll. Either way, I stick the panic, and they're not going he's not going anywhere, I guess would be a better statement. Steam gun goes off over here. I roast he roasts 7 out of 10 of the skinks, and I don't panic here because I have inspiring leadership from the last game I played, so my leadership on everything is actually 1 higher than it should be, so that ends up making me stick there. Then the organ gun goes off, and I'll be completely honest, I get really lucky here. He ends up doing a decent number of wounds, and all I've got up by the end of it is a 5-up armor save, and I save a lot. Really a lot more than I should have. So only 3 of the Cold One Knights die, which I'm very, very happy with. And then we go to my turn. I charge the Cold One Knights into the gyrocopter. He chooses to stick rather than run the risk of running off the table. Everything else I bring up. I need to get the Saurus out of the forest, so I did, even though I have given him a ridiculously easy charge with either of those units. I have been able to keep Wissons up on them, so I'm hoping that I can keep doing so, but it's still a dangerous ploy. And I don't know why I took this second picture. I guess I just accidentally took 2 pictures of the same thing, so awesome. So during my magic phase, I get Wissons off on the Saurus again. I also get Curse of Honor here on the Hammerers, and a laser beam shot that he lets go that kills a single Hammerer from the solar engine. And over here in combat, needless to say, with the character and the Cold One Knights, the gyrocopter just gets eaten. We reform over here so that we're staring at basically anything I want over here, including the flank of the Hammerers if I'm feeling gutsy about it. So we go into the dwarves' turn, and this is where I think Michael's overconfidence in his Longbeards is going to give him a problem. He feels like he doesn't want to charge with the hammers because of the dangerous terrain from Curse of Honor here, so he slams the Longbeards into my front. Now, I think I've got this. They're strength 4, but I've got Always Strikes First. With the Bastiladon there, I'm actually getting rerolls, and I'm feeling confident about that. Over here, you'll notice Notchok is gone. He's actually in the tower now, and his gyrocopter comes over here to line up to get the 3 remaining skinks who have been unable to shoot him to death with poison. Then during shooting, he kills one of the 3 remaining skinks, also touches the building, and that orange die there shows that he put a wound on Notchok as well. And then he tries to even the odds over here. I thought he was going to go after the Cold One Riders, and he decides to focus the organ gun on my Bastiladon and basically turns it into a steaming crater. He did something like 8 or 9 wounds after the armor save to it, and it just vaporized. So now I'm back to Initiative 1, so I still strike first with the Spearman, but I no longer get the rerolls. But ultimately, with Wissen's Wild Form up, I don't really need them. He kills a few, but I put such a hurting on that unit. With the number of ranks I got, he's not steadfast. He needed a 3, I think, to prevent breaking, and he fails to do it. I catch them and roll high enough to slam into the front of the hammers, I believe. Or maybe I'm a couple inches short there. Yep, I am a couple inches short because on my turn, I hit with everything. I slam forward the Spearman. I even get the Salamander in there on the corner and the Cold One Knights in on the flank. I'm liking my odds here. He's at a -1 to hit on the first turn. Or no, he won't because that'll fall off on this turn. But either way, that's a lot of attacks that's going to go before him, and the Hammers just don't have the staying power to take half my army in the face. And then I go into my magic phase and I cast Wissens on the Spearman again. I get it off irresistibly, drop a big template on Notchok's head, and kill him. He wasn't even sucked down the warp. He only had 1 wound left. He just died to the damage. So I really do need to win now because I'm going to be without magic and not sure if I can handle those hammerers without that buff. But we go into combat. I kill just about everything except for his BSB in this unit. I think he does actually have a rank of the hammers, but they're naturally stubborn anyway, so they don't go anywhere. You do see, though, he did take basically another whole rank off of my Saurus warriors, maybe more than that now that I'm looking at it. So even with those guys, what few there were remaining, he still did a lot of pain. And then we go to his turn. He finally decides I got nothing else to shoot at but this stupid chameleon skink, and he empties the organ gun into the chameleon skink's face and kills him. And the steam gun on the gyrocopter finally finishes off this unit of skink skirmishers. So during my turn, I kill the last of the hammers. The only thing left was his Thane, which was in a challenge with my Cold One riding Scarvet. My Cold One guy took a wound, but I didn't do anything back, but we still beat him bad enough. He needed a very low roll and failed it, and I reformed basically like this. So, it is my turn again, yeah. So, I end up attempting to charge the gyrocopter with the remaining Saurus warriors. He chooses not to run, so I fail the charge and get stuck where you see me there. I also charge the Cold One Knights at the top into the organ gun to pick up those points as well, which you see right here. I'm really glad that he had kind of moved out of the way because now I don't run the risk of running into his general, so I'm not going to accidentally kill him first. Then we go into combat, and in the flubfest of a century, 2 Coldwind Knights and a Scarvet character with weapon skill 10, strength 5, fail to kill 3 men on an organ gun. I do 2 wounds to them, and they hang around because they're stubborn. Then on his turn, he moves over here. He can't actually get far enough with only his 10-inch movement. He bakes 4 of the Saurus, and it doesn't look like it from here, but we actually put the scale down and measured it. The Saurus can still see him. So I do have, on my turn, 1 more charge to try and catch and or kill this gyrocopter, and I'm certainly going to take it. And then we go to my turn where I do exactly that. I declare the charge. He flees from me like 5-6 inches, something like that, and I roll boxcars to run him down. And as you can see, I did kill the organ gun, and his general on his turn 6 decides to run into the forest and loot some gold rather than face me, though he does run the risk of having him killed by the trees, but since those kind of deaths don't turn permanent in our campaign, he's really not risking much of anything. Then on my turn, I just decide to use the guys to get in there and get some gold, and I end up looting a ridiculous 22 gold out of that forest, so definitely a good choice rather than trying to do anything stupid. And that is where we end the game after 6 turns. "They will be back," Gorakoth grumbled. "Don't be so sure," Nachok responded. "Despite their unwarranted attack, we showed proper respects and allowed their elder to escape." "The dwarves do not fight as we do. They are uncivilized," the Saurus warrior responded. "What do you mean?" "They see an event only as it affects them. They will take this defeat personally, and they will come back to fight twice as hard next time for the insult of besting them here." "But that is madness," Nachok exclaimed. "They attacked us, and we are wrong in their eyes for defending ourselves?" "Not exactly," Gorakoth replied. "The dwarves are prideful, even for the Warmbloods. It is not that we are wrong for defending ourselves. They just cannot forgive us for being better than they." "Then how do we stop this?" the skink priest asked. "We cannot. The dwarves will fight until they defeat us, which we cannot allow, or until they all have been slain." "Then we must return to the city and tell Mapikaju. Perhaps he will know of another way to deal with them." "As you wish. But I do not think that any, except perhaps Lord Tenok, could change the path that we find ourselves on now." "I hope you're wrong. We have too much to do to waste time having to exterminate the dwarves." So the beginning of the War of Scales is certainly starting inauspiciously for the dwarves. They did gain 12 gold pieces during the game, but then because of their role for losing it, they had to pay 9 of those to me in reparations. So he only gained 3 gold pieces for the fight. All in all, I think he just got beat by his pride. He thought the Longbeards could get the job done and really should have waited for the Hammerers to get in there. And the Lizardmen remain strong in the narrative. Between my looting, my role for the end of the game, and the reparations I was paid, I gained 45 gold pieces in this battle. Also because I left his general alive till the end. He was the last thing that was dealt with. I gained the Skaven Pelt banner, which were just role-playing as dwarven trophies that I've taken. But all in all, it was a good game. I was really kind of nervous when I saw the Longbeards come in, but me having ASF on the Fangs of Gorakoth just makes me better than them. And then on top of it, I had when he came in, I had Wissons on it, so it's like Strength 5, Toughness 5, and I'm striking first. Yeah. Only thing that could have made that better is if he hadn't killed the Bastillodon and I was getting rerolls, but I didn't really need it. I think if he had hit with both units at once, I would have been in a lot of trouble. But he just wasn't willing to risk the dangerous terrain on the hammers, and I really think he probably should have. But all in all, it was a fun game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, please leave them below. Comments as well. I definitely would like to know how many people are still happy and interested that we're doing 8th edition, because I've definitely noticed a little bit of a slack off in viewers and whatnot, but hopefully I'm still providing content that folks are enjoying. So any shout outs or comments or questions or things you would like to see done differently, we'll definitely take that into account. As long as it's not go play Age of Sigmar, because that ain't happening. Um, but as always, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll catch you on the next one.